item will then be the appointment of the chair. So good morning, everybody. This is the meeting of the Lancashire Police and Crime Panel. I'm the Secretary, David Fairclough, and I'd like to welcome you all to this meeting. Our first item of business is the appointment of the chair for the year 2020-2021. And could I have any nominations, please?
I'll move Arthur Barry, Councillor Khan from Blackburn.
Is that proposal seconded? Is there a seconder for that proposal, please?
I'll second it. I'll second it, Chairman.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations for the chair? I don't have any coming up on the chat, so could I ask Councillor Bradley if he would be willing to step up to the chair for 2020-2021?
Be delighted, David, and thank you for those who proposed me and seconded me. So thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll now hand over to you.
Okay, the next appointment is the deputy chair of this committee. Have we any nominations for that? No. In that case, Councillor Roger Berry had previously been the deputy chair. I'm a bit surprised he's not on this call. Maybe he's having some issues getting joined on. What I would suggest, if there is nobody who wishes to put forward, we'll leave the post open until the next meeting, at which time we can probably reappoint. Is that a way forward, David?
Yes, that would be fine, Chair.
Chairman, I'm sorry, I couldn't get on before. It's Jeff Driver. I'll propose Councillor Berry.
And I'm happy to second. Yeah, we're happy to second that. Okay, so therefore, I think the only question would be, with Roger not being on the call, whether he's happy to do it. Like I said, he's not indicated he's not happy to do it, and he only started in the role last year. So, but I think if we want to appoint him in his absence, but obviously he can then confirm whether he wishes to carry on or not, which I suppose has the same impact of holding the post open. So, any against that appointment? Okay, on that basis, I'll assume everybody else is happy with it, and we'll move forward on that basis, if that's okay. David, with you?
Yep, thank you, Chair.
Okay, right, item 3 on the agenda is the membership composition for 2020-21, which is our annual game of percentages and numbers, David, which I know you love doing. Would you like to present to us, please, on what's this year's numbers show?
Yes, thank you, Chair. The report is set down there in the papers on the agenda, and from the nominations that we've received back for this year's panel, we have a core membership of 15 councillors and 2 independent persons. The 2 independent co-opted persons are vacant and are subject to a report separately on this morning's agenda. But from the 15 councils who have reported back, the report outlines that we've had nominations 10 Labour, 4 Conservative, 1 Liberal Democrat, and if we looked at the ideal balanced panel based on politically balanced panel, the council seats we added together to identify that would be 6 Labour, 6 Conservative, 1 Lib Dem, 2 independent members. If we were to continue, therefore, the first matter of business would be to consider that proposal, and the next step from that would be, as we done in every year up till last year, consider increasing the size of the panel to try and respond to the political nominations, to get nearer the political balance. And as the report outlines, the paper put together based on the guidance suggests that if we added 3 seats, which is the maximum that we can add, we could invite 3 additional Conservative members to join the panel, subject to the approval of the Home Office, and that would bring our membership up to 10 Labour, 7 Conservative, 1 Liberal Democrat, plus our 2 appointed independent persons, brings us to a maximum of 20 for the panel. So that's how the report has been set out for this year. The proposal, like I say, for the additional 3 Conservative membership would be subject to approval by the Home Office, subject to agreement this morning.
Okay, thank you for that, David. You want to speak on the day? Anybody got to comment on the proposal to that report?
I've got no indicator to speak at the moment, Chair. Chair, is your video working?
I can turn it on if you want me to.
Yeah, please. Just switch the camera over so people can see it.
Is that better? Right. But on that report, no, in that case, I'm the report was adopted in that we consider to nominate, which is the number 4-1, and there's a top up, and then for a top up, which the Home Office and ratification. I'd like to second that proposal. Possible.
I'll second it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, again, I don't want to say all those in favour. I'd rather say anybody against that, because we know how many people are on the call. Is anybody against? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, none against. Any abstentions? On that basis, then we will assume that everyone is accepting of that proposal, proposed by myself, seconded by Councillor Driver, and that then allows David to write to the Home Office to confirm the makeup of the panel for next year. Okay, so that's that item there, which is item number 3. Have that, David?
Yes, Chair, that's completed. The next item of business, Chair, is the apologies.
Yeah.
We haven't received any apologies, but obviously we do know there's a number of people who are absent this morning.
David, we've got one apology prior to the meeting.
Right.
Councillor Hoare from Ribble Valley, who was getting Councillor Sue Bibby to be substitute.
Right, and I'm just wondering whether some people experience either problems getting on because of the presenter attendee thing that you can't get on through an iPad.
Yeah, we do have.
Which I only found out this morning.
Chair, we do have 7 attendees watching live, so it could well be some of the panel members are actually watching us as we're talking now. Could be the public.
Right, very frustrating.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Right. Well, in that case, like I said, I know I had the problem with getting on as that because I've had to go IT to try and sort that out. Has somebody got their hand up?
Yeah,
Phil?
yes, Councillor Steve. I think, judging by my emails, there are about 4 people who can't get onto the call. You can't get on with, as people have discovered, live through your iPads.
And that's it. Is it worth? Do you know who they are, Alistair?
Yeah. So Councillor,
Try and contact them directly.
yeah, Councillor Anwar. Yeah. It's David. Robert Boswell's got in. David Whip. And Councillor Flannery. I think that's
it. Dribble. Yeah. Okay, Phil, could you just try and contact those people and see if they can get on through a PC? Because if they can, that's how I did it. I got through my Citrix through a PC, so that might be a way they could do it.
We had flagged up in some of the emails that you can't get on via iPad or iPhone. So it does need to be a desktop or a laptop. People would need to join. And the organisation have the right kind of license as well. But I can try and give them a call now, but I'll have to get someone to take over on the meeting now. What I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, can you get somebody to contact? I'll just mail them to confirm that. Obviously, if they can hear what we're saying as attendees, if perhaps they're listening in, then they'll know themselves. But the way to do it is try and do it through an iPad or laptop, which is what my IT did before. Right, okay, we'll move on then on that basis, because those members are here. We've got apologies from those members defined. Obviously, as we all have experienced, and I know Jeff will share this pain, running these kind of meetings is very difficult in this technology, sometimes particularly the first one. So we'll move on to the next item of business, and hopefully people can join as they get sorted out. The first item of business on the main agenda is the minutes of the meeting from the last annual general meeting, which was last March. Does somebody want to propose those minutes or make any comments on those minutes at all, please?
I'll move them, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jeff. Can somebody second those minutes? Is anybody here who's? In which case I'll second, because obviously I was here, and 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 because obviously I was here. I'll second because I was here, and I think the matters arising. No. Right. We'll pick up any items that arise out of that in due course. Item 6 is declaration of interest. Has anybody got any declarations of interest to make before the meeting proceeds? No. Public questions, Phil? I don't think there are any, are there? Or David?
No, we've received no public questions.
Okay, thank you for that. So the next item, which is item 8, is the PCC's annual report. Are you going to speak to this, Clive?
Yes,
please.
Thanks, Chair. The sound's coming back there from somebody.
I'll mute myself.
Okay. Obviously, we are in a year of significant change. This is the first time in 10 years that we've been able to talk about investments into the police, so that is really welcome, and certainly it has given everyone within the organisation a lift to be looking at where we can make the most difference for the public of Lancashire, albeit I've got to say we're still being shortchanged by government, and the campaign that we have for fair funding for Lancashire will continue. When the government are making the noises around putting 20,000 police officers back in, we absolutely want them on the streets of Lancashire. We don't want them on the streets of Surrey, Sussex, Essex and elsewhere. We want them to be returned to the police areas where they've been taken from. I think that's only just, And I also think that when you have a look at the wider issues of the impact of austerity, I think our local authorities have been impacted in the same way. And so we face more significant demand. But like I said, it's welcome that we can be talking about investment. I'm delighted with the progress that has been made and the success of some of the initiatives that we have launched during the last 12 months, such as, for example, our Lancashire, which was launched on Lancashire Day last year, 27th of November, and it has proved invaluable when we've been facing the challenges of the pandemic and supporting the organisations within the community. So they've really come into their own and supported the people of Lancashire really well. I'm even more delighted with the recognition that we've seen from outside the organisation for some of the great work that's going on within Lancashire. One example of that is with diversity, and as we know, we are one of the Stonewall top 100 employers, and we are also recognised as being 21st in the country for the Inclusive UK Employers Award. But I think even more importantly, I think this year being recognised as outstanding by the HMIC FRS, the government inspectors, for efficiency, use of resources, for protecting the service the way that we have over the period of austerity. I think that is without doubt the biggest achievement, because using the money of the public as efficiently as possible has got to be the right way to ensure that the service is being delivered effectively, that the public can be confident that we're making the right decisions to protect them, protect their communities, and like I said, importantly, to protect the budget as well. So it is a period of change. Obviously, the pandemic and the challenges around COVID in the latter part of the year has meant that things have had to change a little bit, but I think there's a lot that's in that annual report, and when we have a look back over the last 12 months, I think it's clear there's been a significant amount of achievement within the force, and actually we've come on significantly from where we were. So I'm really pleased with the annual report. I hope that members will endorse it, and any comments that they wish to make, we will obviously take fully on board, and I look forward to be able to publish that and for the public to give me their views as well. Happy to take questions, Alistair, or comments.
Thank you, Clive. Questions? Councillor Driver, did you want to ask a question?
Yeah, yes, please, Chairman. Really, just for clarification, and I guess a typo on page 18. There's still a number missing in terms of how many pounds have been expended there. But more importantly, can I just have some clarification on what HMI said? Because when the Commissioner introduced it, then he did say only efficiency, but on page 17 of the report, it says effectiveness and efficiency. And then on page 20, it just talks about efficiency. And I think also that where in the minutes we've just approved, it referred to just efficiency. So can we just be clear what HMI gave us outstanding for? Was it just efficiency, or was it for effectiveness and efficiency? Thank you.
Okay, in terms of the numbers one, I think Steve Freeman, my finance officer, will be on I know he's on here somewhere, and so he may be able to answer that one, or we can give him the information next time. But actually, on the strand itself, it was efficiency. It was efficiency. I think effectiveness comes from being efficient, but it was the strand on efficiency, the use of resources. But like I said, it was actually about putting the resources in the right place to protect the services and making sure that the services is being delivered in the way that it should. So that is effectiveness, but it was the strand for efficiency. So I think that the effectiveness is only, that probably needs to be changed slightly on one of the comments there, because the strand, the official strand, was efficiency.
Okay, thanks for that, Clive. Any other questions on that report from anybody? No. On that basis, I know there's.
You do have a question, Chair, from Councillor Jackie Oates.
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, I just want to ask, when you said at the start about wanting the 20,000 officers to be fairly distributed, can you just tell me what the next step is to making sure that happens?
Okay, in terms of the offer from government, within the annual report, you'll see that we put in a bid for this year for 340 officers. We've been allocated 153. That actually, in terms of the numbers of officers coming back in, there's been 21,000 that has been lost since 2010. They're talking about bringing 20,000 back in. In Lancashire, we have 750 fewer officers than we had in 2010. So my argument is that the vast majority of those 750 should come back to Lancashire. So we put in a submission saying that we can take more officers as early as possible to get our fair share back in. Now, in terms of the rest of the allocation, that has got to be decided, and I, along with the support of MPs across Lancashire, are continue to lobby government to get our fair share of the further allocations. So it's not decided yet. The numbers haven't been determined going forward, just this year's allocation. The future allocations haven't been decided yet, so there's still an opportunity to make the case for Lancashire to get as many of those officers back here as we can, and that is what we'll maintain in terms of the just argument, the argument on behalf of the council taxpayers of Lancashire, because what we don't want to see is actually that government move the burden, if you like, of the uplift from central grants to the council tax, because the reason that we've been disadvantaged in the way that we have is quite simply the way the council tax works, because when we've been able to raise the council tax, 2% increase in Surrey, for example, raises nearly twice as much as 2% increase in Lancashire. And so some of the forces in the south of England have been able to offset the cuts because we get far greater amount of our council tax come from central grant and less from council tax. So when we're being cut on the central grant, we're being cut on a bigger proportion of our budget. And when we've been able to put money back in through the council tax, that raises far less in areas like Lancashire. It's a similar issue that the local authorities have, but you know, it's a clear example if we're looking at the disadvantages that we've faced in Lancashire, the numbers of police officers that we've had reduced here, and like I said, the unfairness of the system, the formula that is being used so far to put those police officers back in. So this year we argue we should get 340, we've got 153, and of the remainder we're still making the case, and only on Friday I sent a further letter to Kit Malthouse, the policing minister, to outline the case once again for Lancashire to get fair funding for the uplift, but also added into that, was to argue for fair funding for the reimbursement of the COVID costs as well, because we're significantly disadvantaged again with the cost that we have had through COVID, not just ourselves, but probably more significantly the local authorities. But at the end of the day, money delivers the service. If you don't get enough money, we can use it as efficiently as possible. However, if we haven't got enough, that has a real impact on the service that we can deliver. So that has an impact on the police officer numbers, but also the wider impact of austerity and the cuts across Lancashire. The cuts to local authorities means that there is a bigger burden that is coming on all of us, and therefore we need to fight that, join together to make a case for Lancashire. So it is about lobbying government. It's about arguing with them for the fairness and getting the right resources back into Lancashire, and also putting the case for the difference that we can make with that. So it's not over, but it's an argument and a fight that we've got to have.
If I could just come back on that, I mean, with the exception of the comments about COVID, it's a long time since I came to one of these meetings, but most of that justification I heard at the last meeting, and it does seem that we're prioritising more officers, but nobody else is actually helping us. Is that a fair comment?
The problem with this kind of system is that there are winners and losers, and all the force areas that have gained, and I use Surrey as an example because they now have more police officers now than they had in 2010. Now, there's a number of forces in a similar position to that, and it's probably not in their interest to complain to government about the unfairness of the formula when they're significantly benefiting by it. And so that's the issue. There is no unity because there are certain forces, particularly forces in the north of England, that are the losers because we can raise less through the council tax, and so there are other people like ourselves. But to be fair, you know, to me, it's got to be, we've got to fight our corner for Lancashire, and you know, we've got to make our case, and we can't be dependent upon other people trying to make our case for us. And so the reason why there's not unity for this is because half the forces are gaining at our expense, and so we've just got to lobby on behalf of Lancashire and see what deal we can get.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments on the annual report?
Alistair, yes, I've got a question that's been sent in by Councillor Aitken, who is not able to get directly on the call this morning to actually ask the question himself. Basically, the question is, he wants to ask the Commissioner, he did ask if the extra money that was to be achieved through the £10 on local tax could be printed or shown separately and in the accounts, and also as a supplementary to that, if all of this money has been spent to date to achieve the extra police. He's noted that there has been recruitment of 100 extra officers. Thank you, Chair.
That's fine. I don't really think we need to answer a question there as a Clive. Sorry, I think that was more of a statement than a question, but fine. Anything further? Okay, on that basis, then I think the recommendation is that we're asked to review the annual report, make any recommendations or comments as appropriate. I think members have done. There's a couple of bits that require clarification, I think, from Councillor Driver's question, so if that can be done under the final drafting, that would be very useful. If there's nothing further, then we'll move on to the next item, which actually probably related to that report, is the ongoing performance report for the latest period. Again, Clive, do you want to pick up on that report and make any points that you think are important from it?
Okay, thanks, Chair. As you will see from the report, the figures have been skewed due to the pandemic. Certainly latterly, it's difficult to take out of those figures what the reality is, because everything has changed over the last few months. The challenge of the last few months has been to safeguard the public of Lancashire, both from crime but also from COVID-19. And so the work of policing is different. It's not just been focused on crime and antisocial behaviour and safeguarding the public. It's safeguarding the public in a different way to ensure they're protected from COVID-19 as much as possible. Lancashire Police have played a key role within the Lancashire Resilience Forum, and indeed the Deputy Chief Constable Terry Woods, through the initial phase up until recently, chaired the LRF, and I've got to say, just a note of gratitude, if you like, to the way that the LRF have worked, the local authorities, and everybody coming together has actually played a significant part in protecting the people of Lancashire. I think that they've done a great job, the way that they have cooperated and worked together. We're seeing from the performance report that the police have had to deal with new challenges due to COVID, but new challenges due to the new legislation almost on a daily basis, and they, as I've mentioned, along with emergency workers, key workers, volunteers and the people of Lancashire, have really come together to make sure that we've got through this so far as much as possible. All the figures for crime have fallen, with the exception of there's been a real focus around issues to do with domestic abuse, but issues to do with the online and internet related crime, because of course the world has been, during the lockdown period, everybody has been on their laptops, their iPhones, their iPads and everything else, and that has led to some new challenges around people being targeted for fraud, but also some of the other criminal activity that takes place over the internet. As we do know, that over 50% of all crime has a digital footprint, which gives you an idea of the scale. But clearly, at a time when more people are moving on to using online, people using it sometimes for the first time, they are vulnerable to that exploitation. So we have, during the last few weeks, we have had significant campaigns around domestic abuse and encouraging people to come forward and letting people know that the support services are still there, but also letting people know how they can protect themselves from being exploited through some of the internet and digital crime that has been taking place. So like I said, things have been a little bit different. The challenges have been greater, police have been spread thinner, but I think overall they've been doing a great job protecting the people of Lancashire, so they should be commended for that. But of course, now in a short time, and I'll finish here, Chair, in a short time that things have been coming back to normal in the sense of people going back out, we are already seeing an uptick in crime back to the pre-COVID levels, and so the stretch on the force is probably going to be as great, if not greater, than ever going forward, particularly if we have a summer of disturbance and the tensions that seem to be simmering away in some of the communities across the country. And Lancashire is no different. Again, happy to take questions, Chair.
Thank you, Clive. That was very helpful. Any specific questions or anything contained in that performance report or anything that Clive said, members? very quiet. Just a quick question from me, I think, regarding the sort of recovery and obviously the lockdown and I suppose it goes back to the recruitment of additional officers as well. Are the sort of demands that are going to be seen in the short term, the sort of more perhaps public order or public reassurance and public control, are the new staff going to be able to do that quicker than maybe some of the other operations they were looking to do? Are there plans to use specials? Have you got any insight into that at all yet, Clive, in terms of additional resource?
Yes, thanks, Chair. One of the areas of uplift that has been mentioned and has previously been mentioned at panel is in relation to task force officers. We've got a number of those task force officers that are coming on stream now, that are going out into the communities across Lancashire to reinforce the proactive neighbourhood policing that the public are looking for. Particularly at the moment, we are rolling out the task force officers for the Ribble Valley and some of the more rural communities to support the wildlife crime officers, but also some of the communities that feel more disconnected through the period of lockdown and are desperate to see the visibility return. So I think that the focus has been to maintain the connection with the public. I think that the use of technology has enabled that to happen to a degree. Like I said, it has been about making sure that people don't fall through the net in the support they need through the period of isolation, particularly elderly people. But actually, in terms of the numbers of officers, there's been no slowdown in the recruitment, and in particular, like I said, the task force officers that will make that difference and have been really effective so far in the work where they have been working. That will continue over the coming months. So I think overall there's a lot to look forward to, trying to get back to normal and normal challenges, but actually having the officers in place to be able to deal with that and support the public. So I think we're a little bit more upbeat than we have been, and that's to be welcomed, to be honest. We want more, but we are seeing an increase, and we're putting the resources where we think they'll make most difference.
Great stuff. Thank you for that. That was helpful. Anybody else any comments, questions on the performance report before we move on to further items? No. In that case, then we'll move on to the next item.
Sorry, Alistair. Sorry, there was a question from Councillor Khan.
Yes, sorry, I missed that. Okay, carry on, Councillor Khan.
Are you muted, Mohammed?
It's gone again. Sorry, Chair. It's not a question, it's a comment. I think Clive said LRF, chaired by the Terry Wood. I think he done an outstanding job. I was part of it, and I think same time, I think the murder in Blackburn, Aya Hashim, the way the police dealt that job is really outstanding, and especially the Terry Wood message by the videos, which was really gone all over the community. It was really outstanding, bringing the community together and working with the local authority and other partners and getting these people behind the bar very quickly. Only thing I was concerned about is the relation to reduction in satisfaction level. I'm not going to pose any question, but I think, did we learn any lesson from the United States? What's happened there and how they are dealing with equality and equal opportunity, and dealing with the black people with respect. Black and Asian people, I think I want to make sure our force is fully trained. They should treat the people with equality and equal opportunity with respect. If they are committing the criminal, they should be dealing with it. But I think there is an issue. If somebody is saying we are quite rosy, we are not. I asked my chief executive in my council to look at it about equality and equal opportunity, how much we made, how much progress we made in the last 5, 6, 7, 10 years, and where is the gap. And I think we need to look at it. Every local authority, every institution need to look at it, how the things are moving in their patch. So this should come on chair for the Clive.
Thank you. Noted. The comment is noted, and I'm sure Clive will note it as well and pass that on. Yeah. Anything else from anybody? Okay. On that basis, then we're asked to note that report and make comments, which I think people have done. So we now move on to the next item, which is item 10, which is Police and Crime Commissioner decisions, which are listed on, I think it's page 64 of my report, and it details a number of decisions that have been taken over the last couple of months from March through to June. Has anybody got any questions, queries, or anything for the Commissioner on that? Okay, on that basis then therefore noting, and we can move on to the next item, which is item 11, which is the recruitment of independent members, the co-opted members that we have. And I think just before we note the first comment, which is the end of term of Mr. Baghdadi, and also we've also at the same time had the resignation of Mr. Muller, both of whom have served the committee very well over the last few years, and will be missed by the committee for some of the different viewpoints that they give from some of us elected members who normally sit on the committee. So, but also we need to now select two, not just one, but two new independent members, and David will run through this report for us, presumably. David, is it yourself or Assad?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the paper in front of you describes the process that we're going to put in place, which follows the regulations in respect of the recruitment of independent co-opted members to the Police and Crime panel. And we have done this previously, twice before in the history of the panel. And what I'm seeking is nominations from members. So I'll be writing out to everybody after today's meeting, subject to the approval of this report, inviting people to join the panel for the recruitment of the two independent co-opted persons. And we have a planned interview date of the 10th of September, which will then hopefully we can make two appointments. They will be able to join us at the remaining meetings of this municipal year. Appointments are for a 4-year period, so that's where they differ with the rest of the membership of the panel. And that's really all I need to say on the report, Chair. It's just if members are happy for me to write out and seek nominations to join the recruitment process, we'll get on with that. And I've also provided as appendices to the report available for people to see are the general advertisement, the person specification, and the general roles and responsibilities. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, David. That was useful. I'm happy to do that. If somebody would like to second that proposal or support that proposal, that would be ideal.
Second, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Khan. Thank you. Just a quick comment. Obviously, I think it's detailed that the idea of the independent members is that they perhaps bring skills and a background that maybe elected members don't have, and therefore, if we are putting people forward, they should reflect that. The idea is to complement our existing makeup of councillors, and I'd also like to propose that we write to the two independent members who have served us so well and thank them from myself, if that's okay, or from the panel in general, for the service that they put in to the Lancashire Police and Crime panel over the last few years, if everybody's okay with that as well.
Great.
Any comments? I'll take silence as acceptance of those two proposals then, if that's okay with everybody. So, so David, you're going to write out and put the details out wherever we can for the requirements, and also write to the two previous independent members to thank them for their service and wish them well in their future.
I will do, Chair, yes. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Right. The next item, which is item 12, is the task and finish groups update. I know we've had a written report circulated from Councillor Berry and Councillor Whip regarding rural policing. I think we should have had that circulated to them. Is there any other updates at all, David or Phil, from groups?
Not that I'm aware of, Chair.
It would have been very difficult to do some of that work, I think, over the last few months, so that's noted. Is there any particular issues anybody's picked up on the report that Councillor Whip and Councillor Berry put to us? Or do we want to wait till they are in attendance in the meeting where they can speak? I think certainly David Whip's listening in, hopefully Roger's in contact as well, but if we could leave it to the next meeting to see, because I think some of their conclusions was that there was perhaps further work to be done. And I think we might want to pick that up in the future.
Yes, Chair, and if I could just confirm, Councillor Barry has confirmed that he would accept the vice chairmanship as well.
Right, so he's listening to us, that's good. Right, so if everybody's okay, then I note that I propose that we note the report that's come back from the overview and scrutiny grouping on rural and community policing. I think we move to the next meeting, a full review of that report and any further reports that come back from this year's groups, and then perhaps in the meantime consider how we might do some scrutiny work over the next few months as we move towards a release from lockdown. And perhaps one of the things we could look into is some of the impacts that Clive referred to earlier around some of the impacts that the police are seeing from the COVID recovery and the community cohesion items that he's picked up as well, perhaps on the back of that. So I think we'll leave that to a meeting where we're perhaps more inclusive of other members, but maybe we just ask you to think about that in the meantime, if that's okay. Okay, are we happy with that? Okay, the next item then is item 13, which is the forward plan for the committee. Again, there's a report there. If I find the right page, bear with me a second. And David, is there anything you want to raise on that, or Phil?
Chair, just to confirm, this is standard report for this AGM, and normally if we were in normal times we were planning the task and finish groups and areas of business as you've just described, Chair. It's probably subject to the approval of the committee, given the current working arrangements that we have and the access therefore that task and finish group members may be able to have for meetings and things like that. It may be appropriate to pick up this item at the next meeting and agree the plan. In the meantime, I can write to all members and seek their items of interest for 2020-2021 with a view to putting it as an agenda item at your next meeting.
I think that would be helpful, David. The items that we've got currently on the plan for September's meeting, which is the next meeting, and hopefully we'll be in a far better place in terms of normal business by then, are the annual reports, the performance reports and the police plans and decisions that we normally have. So there's certainly space currently on that agenda to pick these items up. Has anybody got any comments or any proposals that are different to that? Okay, on that basis, again, I'll accept that that's a accepted proposal, and we'll move forward on that basis. The next item of business, which is item 14, is the panel budget statement, which again is linked to the plan. And again, there's a very brief report there, 2 pages report. David, is there anything you want to pick out particularly on that, or anything you wish to raise on that yourself? Or
no, Chair, the report is the standard annual report which shows the expenditure or claim for grant to administer the panel and the payments made, and it's a requirement from our audit regulations and the grant funding that we report this to you annually.
Has anybody got any questions on that report or comments? I think it's fairly similar to previous years. There's nothing particularly different in that. Okay. The next item then is the timetable of meetings, which details that the next meeting is scheduled for the 16th of September at Chorley at 10 AM. The meeting following that is the December meeting, which is in Blackburn at 6:30 PM. Then we have the precepting meeting in January, which will be at County Hall at 6:30 PM. And then there will be a follow-up meeting if we can't agree the precepts as a sort of a provisional date in February. And then the final meeting for 2021 will be on Monday, the 8th of March, 2021. Again, that's currently scheduled for Chorley. And obviously with cancelled elections this year, I imagine that by the time we get into next May, there'll be lots of elections going on, a very different panel post that. And it does then identify an AGM this time next year in July next year. Has anybody got any questions or comments on that timetable? Okay, on that basis, I'm always happy to take proposals for other meeting places as well if people think they'd like, you know, us to meet elsewhere and be more available. But I know we've discussed this before, so if you want to, please raise that to future meetings. Item 16 is the complaints monitoring, which is detailed on the agenda report, and about the number of communications.
James, you just missed one out there, the annual PCP conference, number 16.
That. Sorry, Phil, I haven't missed that. I was talking to myself though. I don't unmute to myself. Sorry, do you want to just run through we'll go back one item, which is the conference, the PCP conference, which is in November, I think, this year, is it?
Yes, Chair. It's in November this year on the 23rd of November, and it's an annual conference that we tend to send some reps to every year. So just alerting it to members that if any member is interested in going, please let me know and we can make the appropriate arrangements. Hopefully by then we'll be able to attend in person and it won't be a virtual event. So yeah, if anybody would like to go, please let me know.
Do you know where that is scheduled to be currently, Phil?
It's in Warwick University, as in previous years, which is in Coventry, basically.
Right. Okay, and we'll send the more details out in due course, presumably.
Yes. So. If any members interested, just let me know. But I will send some more details out. Yeah. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And I know members who've attended previously have found it useful and helpful, and the reports that have come back have also been useful. So encourage any member who wants to go, and we'll see where we are in November. Okay, now back to item 17. Now I'm back on the right track. Is the complaints monitoring report, and that details the further communications that have come in recently and a summary of how they've been treated. David, have you any comments before we go to questions or anything else?
No, Chair, the report is, as you stated before, is our standard report, and I'm required to update on all complaints, comments received, and this summarises the latest position.
Okay. Has anybody got any questions on that item? Okay, I think we are getting reduced numbers of complaints generally, so and things going to the right place, which is better. Okay, the next item then, if that is okay with everybody, is any urgent business. I've certainly not got any urgent business. I'm more than happy if anybody has to accept it now, given that we're in a sort of slightly different environment. Yeah.
You should have been notified of not necessarily urgent business, but an AOB and any other business. So I don't know if you have, but you should have been to add to the agenda, and that is about the Chief Constable's impending retirement, because I wanted to notify the panel that the Chief Constable has submitted his letter notifying me of his intention to retire from the 6th of April 2021, and this has now been accepted. So now we are in the early stages of designing the recruitment process for the new Chief Constable, which, as we know, is probably the most important decision that we take, getting the right Chief Constable. So firstly, just to say that Andy has been a great Chief Constable for Lancashire. He's spent all his career within Lancashire, and as we've indicated with the report itself, he's leaving on a high in terms of the place that he's leaving Lancashire Constabulary, being outstanding, and the work that they're doing now supporting the public. But he has submitted his letter, and so we will be putting the advert out within the next few weeks, and the process will take place later this year. And obviously we will bring that back to panel and look to have support from the panel for the duration of the process itself. So I wanted to make sure the panel was aware of that, and obviously get the involvement of the panel in whatever appropriate way we can do.
Thank you, Clive, and yes, I was aware of it, and I was hoping you'd bring it up under that item, so that's fine. And again, I just add my comments. I think Andy's always been very straight with the panel when he's come in and spoken to us. I think he's been very open and honest, and is engaged with us as a panel, and that's been appreciated, and I'm sure we'll get a chance to say that before next April. Obviously, the process will be quite convoluted, as these things are. So I suspect it will run on for a period, but we all know how complex this process can be, and extended it can be. So again, members will get further updates, presumably, as and when there is more detail to actually consider and review, and you'll keep us updated, Clive, I'm sure. Any comments on that at all, or any questions about that? I think Alistair Sinclair, you've indicated.
That wasn't actually a question about that. It was any other business. If we're moving on.
Okay. Just hang on then. Is there anything on the Chief Constable issue before we move on to Alistair's question? No. In that case, Alistair, it's all yours.
Yeah, Clive, I just wanted to get your take on the weekend with the relaxing of lockdown. It's been fairly quiet in Lancaster, but a sort of brief kind of overview of what the take has been across the county.
The take, Alistair, is that the PC Rain and Wind has done a great job this weekend. That actually the weather conditions I think have been helpful. The feedback has been I've not had any notification of any serious incidents across Lancashire. I will get my normal kind of weekly update later today, but if something significant had happened, they would have told me before now. There was a lot of preparation that went into the weekend, with leave cancelled and a number of officers that the strategy was to police it like it was going to be New Year's Eve. Now, I did say that, you know, most of the people I speak to of my age weren't thinking of rushing to the pubs on Saturday, but we're probably the wrong demographic. But actually, the feedback in general has been that the pubs have been fairly quiet. Most people have been pretty well behaved, and it hasn't been a New Year's Eve in Lancashire. And I do think, like I've said, I think the weather conditions have played their part within that. Certainly on a Saturday night, this Saturday night, it was blowing an absolute gale, and you had to be fairly kind of resilient to get out there and rush down to the pub. But I think so far so good. Having said that, I think the wider issue is going to be on like I alluded to earlier, the tensions that are underlying over the summer months, and we are mindful that actually, if it is going to be a hot, dry summer, that might cause real problems, because we've seen around the country the fact that people have been in lockdown, and young people in particular now taking the opportunity to emerge, that is stretching the police force significantly. In Lancashire, we haven't had too many of those issues. Most of the concerns have been about the numbers of people heading to the seaside, Morecambe, Blackpool, but not behaving badly. You know, most people have been behaving pretty well. There have been one or two raves that have tried to be organised within Lancashire, and we've nipped those in the bud so far, but it doesn't mean to say that they won't happen again in the future. But the police are well prepared. You know, the operation that was in place for this weekend was really significant. A lot of resources went into it, and a lot of resources are going into the intelligence around events and raves and those kind of activities, because prevention is better than cure. Stopping things happening in the first place is a far better use of resources. And so this weekend, so far so good, but it all depends. You know, the weather does play a really significant part within this, and we are mindful of tensions and what might happen over the summer. And so it's working with the communities, getting any information we can as soon as possible, and stopping people getting overexcited.
Thank you.
Fine. Thanks, Clyde. Any other urgent items? No. I'm aware of a question that's come in from Councillor Bibby at Ribble Valley, which I'm happy to take now, given some of the issues we've had regarding people being able to join this meeting. I'm happy to take that now, because obviously it's coming through the meeting. And if it's okay, David, I think I'll read the question, and you can perhaps look to provide an update on what we discussed earlier. But it was about the membership of the panel for 2020-21 in terms of the proportionate political representation. Councillor Bibby supports the 8 Labour, 7 Conservative, 1 Lib Dem and 2 independent members as per the LGA guidelines. In terms of Ribble Valley, they've had 2 members elected for the following reasons: because it's geographically very large. It stretches from the Yorkshire, obviously from the Yorkshire border all the way through to the Preston boundary. It's a large area of villages and main towns of Clitheroe, Whalley and Longridge. They've also highlighted the mixture of urban and rural crime issues, which have increased since the loss of local police stations. And well, Clive is aware, which Clive is well aware of, because he's been quizzed many times at this meeting about it. It is an issue within the borough and other boroughs. And also, Councillor Bibby's outlined the fact that there are a large number of farms which have a problem with rural crime, alcohol-related problems and social behaviour I think many of us share, and also rural businesses and remote locations requiring a response. I think in principle I note the comments, the composition of the panel. David, I'm sure you'll highlight back to us. There are many viewpoints of what it should be comprised, but we are hamstrung by 2 things. One is who individual councils nominate as their representatives, and their reluctance at times to nominate members of opposition parties. And then the second thing, the top-up element and the overall number of councillors we can have. This was rehearsed at length last year and was tested by the Home Office, and at the moment we can't see any other way of structuring apart from how we currently are, but happy to discuss now or in the future as required. David, did you want to comment any further on the actual mechanics of it at all before?
Chair, you've summed it up quite succinctly. Basically, for a panel of 18, with a total of 20, with the 2 independent persons. Ideally, it's 8, 7, 1, 2. That's actually not practicable if no council wishes to change its nomination. Hence, we're able to utilise the best we can the flexibility of 3 additional places. As the councillor has outlined, in the past, when we've used the additional 3 places, Ribble Valley have taken up one of those additional 3 places. And as the members agreed earlier on the agenda, it is proposed to have 3 additional Conservative group councillors. It would be a matter for the panel, of course, to determine and tell me or advise me which councils I should include in the letter to say that that Councillor X should be joining the panel, and I would be grateful if members could confirm, if they've got a view now, which councils I should seek those additional Conservative places from. As you say, Alistair, we have got a proposal here at Ribble Valley to take one of those 3 places.
I think just purely on numbers and looking at the nomination, the councillor build-up demographic, if you like, across the county, the 3 councils with the largest Conservative elements are Wyre, Fylde and Ribble Valley, and then County Council. So that's the pecking order, if you like, in terms of the largest percentage. And I think actually Wyre's got the highest percentage, 70% of its councillors being. So I think it's up to those Conservative councils to decide between themselves. But in the past, we've utilised the council with the largest percentage of Conservative members, and that's how we've done it.
Chairman, if I may, I think that's the wisest way forward, and if we need to move it, I'd say in addition to Ribble Valley, Wyre and Fylde.
Thank you, Councillor Driver, that's helpful, thank you. Any other comments or questions on that? I appreciate we did that at the start of the meeting, but obviously those members who aren't able to take full active part are commenting via email and however they can, but that's fine. Okay, on that basis, I've no more urgent business.
I've lost the sound.
Sorry, I've muted myself and then not unmuted myself. A schoolboy error, as we're all experiencing on a daily basis at the minute, I'm sure. Yes, the next meeting, members, is the 16th of September 2020 at 10 AM at the Council Chamber at Chorley Town Hall. We will advise if it's going to be another Teams meeting, but hopefully there will be at least the opportunity to meet in person, etc. Get some feedback. So somebody. That concludes the meeting, as far as I'm concerned. Unless anybody's got anything else, David, Phil, nothing we've missed.
Nothing, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. On that basis, thank you. And have a safe couple of months until we meet again in September. Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you, Chair.